I'm so excited. It's time for Christmas in July. I'll be sharing how to create some Christmas ornaments using some things you can find in Dollar Tree right now. For this ornament, I'm using some burnt umber craft paint as well as some cream craft paint. It's like an off-white color. And I'm going to be painting this birdhouse. Dollar Tree has lots of different styles of some wood birdhouses, and they are available all year round. And I've seen them in store for several years. If you can't find them at Dollar Tree, then go ahead and find them at another dollar store. Reviewing the label, and then I'm going to be painting the rooftop as well as the base of the birdhouse with the burnt umber. I'm just going to give it a coat, and then I'm going to be taking a rag and wiping the excess off. You can of course use a stain instead, but I thought I would just use craft paint because I know it is readily available to all of us, and this is something that you can get at Dollar Tree. Being very, very careful when I'm going underneath the roof line here. I didn't want to get the brown paint on the main part of the birdhouse. So I'm just being very careful. And then I'm also making sure I get the edge of the roof line as well. And again, you just use your rag and wipe off the excess. Next, I'll be painting the base of the birdhouse, and same thing as the roof, letting that dry. It does not take long to dry at all. I'm going to continue to paint the main part of the birdhouse with my cream paint. You can see that the color difference is just slight, but it is creating a really nice, pretty color of off-white. I need to add an eye hook to the top for my hanger. So I'm just going to measure where the middle is, and I'm just going to mark it with the eye screw here, or eye hook. And I was going to start to put it in, but it wasn't going in very easily, so I'm using my awl, and I'm being very careful to use my fingers to guide it in, and then that will create a better guide hole for me to screw the eye hook into. You can see the little indent there. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And I actually find that it's easier to get the eye hooks in, especially when they're this small, using some needle nose pliers. And what I do is just push down as I'm twisting the eye hook in place. So now it's time to decorate. I am going to be using this red jute twine that I got. I have seen it at Dollar Tree in the past, but I have seen it at lots of other craft stores as well. So I'm just going to add a piece to the eye hook at the top, and then I'm going to create also a simple bow. I'm going to wrap it around the eye hook, and then I'm going to tie it off. That'll help to camouflage that eye hook. I typically like to use the golden color eye hooks, but I didn't find any in my hardware store, so I've got the silver. I'm also going to add this cute little cardinal. It is a figurine that I had picked up a couple years ago from Dollar Tree. I'm not sure if they still have them or not, but you can use any little bird that you can find. I'm going to just use my hot glue to attach it. And then I've got this greenery that I got from, again, my local dollar store, but you can use any greenery that you have. I know Dollar Tree has a lot of pretty greenery. This is just something I already had in my stash, so I decided to just cut some little snippets. I think somebody mentioned that Hobby Lobby had these evergreen pipe cleaners as well, so you can check out that store as well. Dollar Tree has also had pretty pip berries in stock several years, and they come in lots of different colors. They carry them in the fall and the winter. I've got these red ones here. I'm just going to clip off a few little pieces and then glue them into place. They're really nice to use because they are so small and they just add a nice pop of color. This is so cute, and it's got a bit of a farmhouse country look to it. When I was in Dollar Tree, I found this cute cutting board magnet. Isn't it adorable? It is a fridge magnet, and I'm going to remove the magnet off the back just by using just a thin tool here to pop it off. And it removed quite easily. Now, you don't have to do that step. You could just cover up the magnet. So I accidentally didn't record the fact that I gave it a coat, 2 coats of this outdoor acrylic paint, but you can also coat it with some gesso and craft paint. Next, once those were both dry, I'm adding some DecoArt triple thick glaze. I wanted to try and match up the backside as close as possible to the front. You'll need to use a soft bristle brush for each step that you do this, just to try and create as smooth as a texture on the backside as possible. You could also spray paint this, which I think I will try next time, because you could see some of the texture coming through, but I just made do. So you can see that there is some crackling, and I think that was just a result of the glaze reacting to the paint, but I thought, you know what, that's okay. It kind of ties in with a farmhouse look. I'm using this baker's twine as my hanger. I'm using some Gorilla hot glue sticks here. I'm gonna press that one end into the glue and then the other end into the glue, just like you see me doing right here, and it's hanging nicely. To help make that more secure, I'm adding some more hot glue, and then I'm going to be wrapping some of this red ribbon that I had in my stash around the neck of the cutting board, and then trim that off and add a bit more glue, and that will help to secure those strings in place. It also gives a nice festive touch. I'm gonna just add just a little bit more hot glue just here at the back side to help hold the string in place, just so it hangs a little bit better. I just found that it wasn't quite hanging straight. So I'm just gonna make a simple loopy bow here, just really basic, nothing fancy. And I'm gonna just trim off the ends, and then I'm gonna add that using some hot glue, just again for a nice festive touch. You could add some greenery and some pine cones and berries, whatever you'd like, but I like the simplicity of this bow. Despite the paint finish on the backside, I have to say this was one of the easiest ornaments I've made, and it turned out so cute. Dollar Tree always has some really neat thick wood pieces in different shapes. I picked up this heart, removing all the tags and the stickers here on the backside, and I have to say there was so much residue left behind. I was kind of disappointed in that. I feel like they need to improve on that for these pieces. I decided to try and sand it off, and what ended up happening was that the dust from me sanding collected in the adhesive, and it just helped me to ball it up a little bit better and then pull it off. So it ended up working out just fine. I just continued to work at the surface and then just kind of ball up all that adhesive and removed it using my fingers. If you have another suggestion on how to remove the adhesive, please feel free and leave a comment in the comment section to help us all out. I'm going to sand off all the rough edges, and I should have sanded off the top a little bit more as well, just to help remove all that wood grain texture. I'm going to use a combination of cashmere tan and burnt umber. I wanted to create a gingerbread look, so I'm trying to create a gingerbread color. I don't know how accurate I got. I went looking online and I discovered that there are so many different shades of gingerbread. So just go with whatever you want. I was just mixing the two colors together and added some paint samples on the back side of this until I was happy with it. I think it was about half and half mixture. And I had to give my wood piece 2 coats of this craft paint. And I also made sure to allow it to dry in between each coat. I'm going to give this entire piece a coat of this matte varnish, again from DecoArt. I really like to seal things up with this varnish. I like the sheen that it leaves behind. It's very, very light. So I allowed that to dry, and you can see how well that looks. Next, I'm using a pencil, and I went searching online at Scandinavian gingerbread kind of style, and I just picked out a simple design. All I did was create the outline of the heart, again using my pencil. That just creates the pattern that I need to create this design. And then in the middle, I also just drew another little heart. And then all the way around on the inside, I decided to just add some little dots all over. This was a design that I had seen several times on when I did a search on Google, so I highly suggest you do that. Next, I'm going to be using some dimensional tulip paint here. It is fabric paint, but it works great for projects like this. You want to make sure that your nozzle is unclogged, so I always like to test it out first, just on a scrap piece of paper. And then if need be, you can take a needle and just clear out that nozzle, and then again test it out, and you can see it came out nicely this time. So I'm just going to start in the middle and fill in that little heart, but I started by just doing the outline, and then I went ahead and filled it in with the slick paint. Now I'm going around and adding some little touches over top of the dots. I thought another suggestion too would be just doing some drizzle, or you could use some like snow text or texture paste and create some frosting and add some faux sprinkles. Decorate this any way you'd like, have fun with it. I think this is so cute. I did allow it to dry overnight. Again, I'm using my awl and adding an eye hook to the top, doing the same technique that I did previously. So I wanted to keep a really natural touch. I am going to just use some jute twine and create my hanger. And then just to, again, hide the eye hook because it is silver, I am adding just a simple bow using the jute twine as well. This was so fun to make, and I can definitely see an entire tree covered in assorted shapes in this style. I found this really cute clipboard. It was in the picture frame aisle, and you could see that it had a little stand on the back as well, so you can just put it on your shelf with a little picture. I'm like, ooh, this would make a really cool ornament. So I'm just removing the bow and the paper. I am going to be reusing that bow, but I wanted to just clean this up because there was a lot of glue here and I didn't like the way it looked. So I just pulled that off, and then I also popped off that little stand. It popped off easy, but the hinge wasn't coming off easy. So just using my needle nose pliers and just prying that off. It did cause a bit of damage in the back, but we're going to fix that up. So you can see I'm just going to now take my tools and just clean it up a little bit. And then I'm going to take some sandpaper and I am distressing the front of this. I wanted to create, again, that kind of rustic farmhouse look, but I also think it just makes it a little bit more high end. I'm going to sand down the back where the hinge was as well, because I wanted to fill that in. You can fill it in with some wood filler as well. But before I get there, I'm just distressing the front just a little bit more. I just thought it needed a little bit more of distressing scratches on that faux wood paneling. And to remove the dust, I just used a rag. So now to fill in those holes, I do recommend using wood filler or like some wall putty, but I didn't have any on hand. So I'm just going to use my gesso because it is thicker. And I ended up having to apply one coat, let it dry, and then I'm going to sand it down. I had sanded it down quite well. And then I actually did need to go back in again a second time after I removed the dust and fill it in just a little bit more. And it didn't take too long to dry because I think this is like particle board, and the particle board was actually quite absorbent. So it did not take too long to dry. So I'm just going to sand that down again. Cleaned it up, and now I'm going to give the entire backside a coat of gesso. Now, if you want, you could just cover the backside with some paper. A decorative paper would be really pretty, but I wanted to try and match the backside to the front. So I decided to go ahead and give this an entire coat on the backside with the gesso. That just helps to seal the particle board. and I allowed that to dry. So while that was drying, I found this cute card that I had in my stash, and I liked the little house image. So I'm gonna cut it out. At first I cut it out with a little bit of a border, but I end up getting rid of that border, which I will show you here in a moment. But cutting it out this way actually made it easier for me to trim around the house anyways. So you can see how that looks, and I'm not that crazy about it. So that's when I decided to trim it off. I just didn't think it looked very good against these scrapbook papers that I had in my stash. So doesn't that look much better? I thought it did. So now I'm just gonna measure this little clipboard because I needed to know how much paper I needed to cover this up. So for this one piece, I'm going 2¼ inch wide and 3½ high. And then I am cutting the red smaller than that. That was like the max size that I wanted. Of course, make adjustments as needed. I accidentally cut this first piece too small, so I'm just cutting another one, and that was the right size that I needed. Now I'm gonna go ahead and cut what I need for the polka dot, and the smaller red piece was 2 inches wide, and it was 3¼ inches tall. I've got all my pieces cut out, and now I'm just gonna layer them up to make sure it all looks good together. I decided to distress the edges of my polka dot with some vintage photo distress oxide ink. I thought it matched up with the house nicely and just tied it all together. I like to use a makeup sponge to apply the ink around the edge. You can see how pretty that looks. And now again, I'm just gonna layer everything together. It looks very nice. And now I can glue those pieces together, and I'm just going to use a glue stick. Feel free to use any glue that you'd like. And then one thing I like to do is once I glue everything together, I will put it underneath something heavy that's flat, such as a book or a board or something, and let that dry. I'm also using my bone folder to smooth it all out. You want to make sure that you don't use too much glue so it oozes out. When I added the house, you can see I put it more towards the bottom because it's going to be going back onto our little clipboard. The gesso is all nice and dry, so I'm going to apply 2 coats of some black craft paint and allow each layer to dry. Once it's all dry, you can now distress it, just like we did for the front side, going around the edges, just like you see me doing here. And then I am also going to be just scratching the surface, again, just like I did on the front, and it creates a really cool look. Same technique to add my eye hook, using my little awl and my needle nose pliers to put the eye hook into place for my hanger. And I am going to now attach that little burlap bow back in place. Like I said, I had cleaned up all that previous hot glue, and I'm being very mindful how much I'm adding this time. I fluffed it up a little bit, and then I'm going to put it back where it was originally. And then I'm going to use some jute twine, and I'm going to wrap it around the hanger because you could really see it, and that silver color just, I don't know, it just didn't look right. So I'm just adding just a touch of some jute twine around it, and then adding just little dabs of hot glue to help hold the knot in place. Now I'm going to just again use my jute twine to create a hanger, and then we can put our little image into place. If you don't want to create an image like this, you can definitely personalize it by adding a actual picture to this or anything that you would like. But I think it turned out so cute. I love this primitive country farmhouse look. You're gonna wanna check this video out right here. It is packed full of some different Christmas ornaments for you to try out. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let me know your favorite down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.